Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be at in this beautiful world of ours. This is Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim here on OMTimes, the voice of consciousness. I am your co-host, Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, and I am excited, you guys, for today's show. So if you're listening live, we have a very special guest that's returning back to Inspired Living Radio. We will be taking calls, but we will not be doing any live readings on the air. We will be talking about spirituality, mediumship, and all of the topics under that. But if you want to call in, the number to call in is 1-202-570-7057. We'll be taking calls here in about 20 minutes or so. So if you're listening live, thank you so much for listening to us today, being a part of our Inspired Living community. I have to say that we are about to hit 1,000 members on our Facebook page. So if you want to participate in the show, you can call in live or you can engage with us on our Facebook page. And we're about to hit 1,000 members. So maybe you'll be that lucky 1,000th member. If you want to work with me, I'm here in Seattle, Washington, the beautiful Pacific Northwest. You can learn more about the work I'm doing. If you want to do a little spiritual prospecting for your own spiritual goals, just visit me at marklanehart.com. You can do an internet search for the Intuitive Prospector. You can also find me on Best American Psychics or Best Psychic Directory. I would love to work with you. And all the way across the country in the beautiful state of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, is my lovely, talented, and beautiful co-host, Kim Falcon, founder of Love First. Hi, Kim. How are you today?
Hi, Mark. Have me smile over here with that introduction. Thank you for the nice introduction. I am so happy to be here, and I couldn't be happier with the guest that we're having on today, who is always just a delightful guest to have, and so welcomed here on Inspired Living. And, you know, every time we have this guest on, we get such a warm response from our listeners. He has so much wisdom to share. But first, as Mark said, I'm Kim Falcon, founder of my spiritual practice, Love First, where life transformations happen in the beautiful states now of Virginia and California. If I can help you transform your life so that you can heal what needs to be healed and move forward living the life you're meant to live of joy, through readings, energy healings, or using the power of your mind with hypnotherapy, you can find me at lovefirst.info, and I would love to hear from you. I hope everybody had a wonderful Valentine's Day. Of course, this is my week, the week of love. I'm so excited about that. If you would like to interact with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook under Inspired Living Radio, Twitter and Instagram under Inspired for Us, Google Plus, Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. And this is where you can interact with us. You can find out about upcoming shows, and you can send through your questions here as well. You can also listen to all of our archives on OMTimes Radio, Podbean, SoundCloud, marklanehart.com, YouTube, and iTunes. And as you know, Inspired Community, every month we have an inspired affirmation. And this month's affirmation is, I encounter love in all of my relationships, and I love the encounters. So I hope that you found these affirmations as helpful as we have. As Mark said, you can call in with your questions live today. this is your chance to, interact live with world-renowned UK medium Paul Jacobs. You can call in live at 202-570-7057. Back to you, Mark.
Very awesome. Yes, last time Paul was on the show was actually our 35th show. I went back to iTunes and listened to it because I was actually on vacation, Kim, in Mexico, and we are on our 75th show based on iTunes show. Can you believe that? 75 shows now we've been doing Inspired Living Radio.
That's crazy. Gosh, time just flies by. I can't believe that. Yeah.
It does. And again, guys, if you're an inspired listener out there around the world, head over to the internet, Inspired Living Radio. It's on our internet show. We're here every Wisdom Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, over on OMTimes. I love OMTimes because you don't need any kind of password or username. You can listen to the show from any device, and we have a lot of spiritual fun here every Wednesday. So let's get into the background of our special guest who is returning to Inspired Living Radio to talk about the past, present, and future of spirituality and mediumship. Paul Jacobs is a world-renowned medium that has been working with spirit for over 26 years and studied directly under Gordon Higginson. If you don't know who Gordon is, please Google him, and you can learn all about the great work that Gordon did as a psychic medium in the UK. Paul gave up on his business to become a professional medium and to help serve spirit and humanity. He is a highly esteemed tutor at the Arthur Findlay College. Again, if you're not familiar with the Arthur Findlay College, or what we call AFC, just take a quick Google search and learn all about the college. He's an author and president of Longton Spiritualist Church in the UK. Paul has helped many students over the decades develop their mediumship abilities and is highly regarded as the best in his field. He is known by his students as being passionate about his work and his genuine interest in helping to further their development and understanding of the spiritual world. If you want to learn more about the great work Paul is doing all around the world, you can visit him at pauljacobs.com. Paul, welcome back to Inspired Living Radio, my friend.
Thank you. Welcome. Nice to be able to speak to you. Welcome, Kim.
So today, last time you were on, you talked about all things mediumship with you and Kim. Like I said, that was our 35th show over on iTunes, and today is our 75th. So today, let's talk about the past of spirituality and mediumship, the present of spirituality and mediumship, and where you see the work going into the future, and just connect with our inspired listening community all around the world.
Again, Mark, it's very much been sitting thinking about the past, the present, and the future. And to be honest with you, I very much missed the past. Because if we look at mediumship from the past and its purpose and the way it was used and presented, it was very much about being of service, where today, quite often, it's more about business and and I'm not just speaking about other people. I have to put myself in that category as well. That part's come into mediumship, and we have to be very careful of the materialistic side and the spiritual side of mediumship. And I'm just wondering whether we're getting a little bit out of balance with it. Gordon Higginson used to say that the materialistic side of mediumship is like a magnet that draws you in without realising it. And it's something I've been very conscious of recent times, and trying to make sure that I keep the balance between the two. Many people today are setting out purposely to make it a career. And again, I'm a full-time medium, and I suppose you can say it is my career. But it was something that unfolded naturally into becoming a full-time medium by demand, rather than me trying to force it or make it purposely happen. And I believe, your work should speak for itself, and the work that you should do and the way you'll be moved to what you should do in your work would happen naturally, rather than forcing it to happen.
And Paul, would you say when you decided to go full-time, was that a hard decision for you? I mean, because us as spiritual mediums don't make a lot of money doing this work. And I was just curious, 26 years, you've been doing this for 26 years. At what point did you want to, take that leap of faith and be a spiritual ambassador, traveling all around the world as a full-time professional?
So, well, in the beginning, I was just working part-time at the side of my normal everyday job. And the demand was increasing, and I was finding it difficult managing both. So I kept asking the spirit world, should I move into this full-time? Got no answers. Then I finally booked a sitting with a reputable medium who I respected. And I didn't ask him the question, but naturally it came in the sitting. He said, the spirit world have said, it's up to you, your choice, whether you go full-time or not. And I thought, oh, that's great. That's not the answer I wanted. But then he added, they are saying if you decide to go full-time as a full-time medium, there will always be enough work for you to provide for your needs. And so I made the decision to do so, and within 2 weeks I had my first invites abroad come naturally from nowhere, in a way, and invited to work and teach at the Arthur Findlay College for 6 weeks that year. So the spirit world have always done that for me, but they left it to me to make the choice.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love how Spirit does that to us and for us. So Paul, we're going to be going into our first break here. We're going to be back in 2 minutes. But hey, guys, stick around. We have world-renowned and spiritual medium Paul Jacobs talking about spiritual mediumship, the past, the present, the future. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Are you seeking answers to life questions? Would you like to connect to a departed loved one? Are you suffering from pain, stress, or anxiety? Kimberly Thalkin is a tested, certified, and professional psychic, spiritual medium, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Love First, where life transformations happen. Love First services support, guide, and empower individuals by connecting them to their highest potential to live a healthier, joyful, and meaningful life that's filled with purpose. All services can be done by phone, Skype, or in person in Encino, California. Please visit lovefirst.info. That's LOVEFIRST.info for more information.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our wonderful guest today, world-renowned medium Paul Jacobs. Paul, thank you again for being with us, and welcome back from our short break there. Before we went to break, we were talking about mediumship, and now we're going to continue that conversation. There's just so much to talk about and so much to learn, because I don't think you ever stop learning when you do this work, right, Paul? Even many years down the road, and all that you know, I only imagine you're still continuing to learn and evolve as a medium.
That's right. There's only once you feel you've reached the stage, there's nothing to learn. There's only one way after that, and that's down.
We don't want to go there. Okay. Wow. Okay. So Paul, people who are not, who maybe have never had a mediumship reading, what should every sitter experience in a session? I mean, is there something that everyone should be able to walk away with at the end of a mediumship reading?
Well, I always believe a sitting should be bringing, for those who are bereaved, for the mediumistic sitting, should bring comfort. It should help them be able to have hope for the future with their own lives, give them reason to continue living and finding still a purpose and joy within their own life. Through that physical loss of somebody, which many lose when they lose a loved one. Many don't want to live anymore. So it's bringing that encouragement and hope to live, besides bringing that comfort of that physical loss.
That is so nicely said, because yes, so often, when we experience a loss of a loved one, it can feel very tragic, and it's hard to see the light in life. And so, I would definitely agree with you. That is the one thing that mediums can do, is help to bring that light back into life again. And what a beautiful blessing to be able to do that as a medium.
So,
now,
the communication will never replace that physical presence, but it does help them to be able to continue.
And to bring peace around that. So, as Mark mentioned earlier, you've studied under Gordon Higginson, who's known as the colossal of mediums out there. What was one of the most important things that you learned from him?
In my actual mediumship was to be able to, working with it, is to be able to trust the spirit world first and not allow a no from a recipient to affect me. That was one of the most important things. He says, always believe the spirit first and your recipient last.
Oh, my, I love that. Believe the spirit first and the recipient last. That's a wonderful quote. I'm going to have to remember that, because, boy, as mediums, those no's, they can really throw us off.
That's right. If you allow a no to affect you, it will just break the communication. Certainly will. Yes, we do all get no's in a communication, but you have to deal with the no and allow them to work through, because quite often, it's not what you've received is wrong. It's maybe you've not delivered it correctly, you've not understood it properly. But I'm the first to admit, and I keep trying to get this across to students, because they think they should never get a no. And I said, I don't know any medium who will not get a no. I don't believe them if they say they never get a no. And we have to admit, because it's mediumship of the mind, our mind will interfere at times. Because our mediumship works through the psychic faculty, there will be also an element we pick up psychically from the recipient. We have to keep those two things as small as possible. So I'm the first medium to admit, and occasionally I'll put my hands up and simply say, okay, I'm wrong with that. It's going to happen. It's not possible to have that 100% pure connection.
Well, now that's something for all of us students to remember. If Paul Jacobs lifts his hands up and says, "Okay, I got to know I'm okay with that," then we need to be able to do that too, for sure. Because I think, you know, and I think what's that?
Most no's I don't accept, but there are occasions, because when we're giving the information and having that interaction, that you also have to listening to the energy and the exchange within the feelings and your emotions with the soul that tells you that you're right, you're wrong, or what you've received is right, but you've got to find out what you've done wrong. And with students, I always say to them, in classes, I want you to get it wrong. I want you to get no's, because you learn more by the no's than you do the yeses. And also, when it comes to you working in the real situation, if you don't know what causes a no, then you're not going to be able to deal with it in that particular time. So you need to learn now in the class before you move out into the real situation what causes the no.
Yes, right, and to be able to work through no's in a safe and supporting setting is always much nicer of an experience than when you're out in the world on your own trying to maneuver your way through. So, yeah, that is one of the great benefits of being able to work through that in a class setting with someone like yourself to help us make our way through.
So that's right. I give all my a list of everything that causes a no in a contact. I said, then you need to learn that list, have it stored in your subconscious. And then when a no happens, then intuitively you should know which one has caused that no. You can't stand there when you've had a no and go through the whole list of possibilities. You need to your soul needs to react automatically in the right one, what has caused the no.
And Paul, in all of your teachings, I mean, you're teaching all over the world. You get to experience other mediums, and many different countries. Where do you think mediums fall short today?
Fall short. We could make a list. I could even look at my own at times.
Right.
I actually don't think we withdraw enough to just sit with the spirits. Often people come to me with things and I say, well, really, you should be sitting and asking the spirit about that. We don't keep that exchange personally. And often we keep wanting to use the power, communicate, even in people's meditation. I say, you're not meditating to get communication for this particular purpose. You're supposed to be also meditating to develop and strengthen the power and the blending. But often when you meditate, many of you are wanting communication to take place, and that's using the power. That's fine if that's what you're purposely sitting to do, to put certain questions out to the spirit world, but we must set enough time also to be able to have that oneness with the spirit and the blending, away from just constantly using that power and the communication.
Okay. And I feel like that message was for me too, Paul, because it's funny that you say that. I just experienced that the other day in meditation, and I thought, you know what, nothing's happening here. but then it was a very peaceful, beautiful experience at the same time. I thought, well, like you said, maybe it's not supposed to happen every time. Sometimes it's just supposed to be sitting in the power and building it, like you said.
That's right. Gordon used to say, when nothing seems to happening, actually, the most can be happening, because there has to be work done behind the scenes by those who work with us from the spirit world.
Yes, I love that, and I can confirm that that's what my experience was too. Because by the end of it, I felt like that was a really nice experience, even though there wasn't communication that happened. So, Paul, as we look forward with mediumship, how do you see mediumship evolving or changing from how you once knew it to be when you first started out, and where it is that it's going today?
I think the problem today, and I'm finding it difficult to look forward in a positive sense, Because if you look back in England anyway, and I know in the early years, also in your country, it was more under the umbrella of spiritual churches and under the religious aspect, where today many people are against organised and formal religion and don't want to put their mediumship under that umbrella. Then we've got where it's become, as I said earlier, this very commercial aspect, the entertainment aspect, which I'm part of both of those things. And I think it's been able to keep the spiritual side and the balance of, in a way, the being a career and professional and trying to earn a living from it, and also keeping the spiritual aspect with it, but not actually having to maybe put it under the umbrella of religion in the strictest form, but also keep that balance where we're going more just down to career and entertainment value.
And that is our cue there. We're heading into our second break here. We will be back in 2 minutes, so stay with us as we continue our conversation with world-renowned medium Paul Jacobs.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Have you wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marklanehart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Sparky the Fire Dog here. Protect your family from fire. Make sure your home has smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside your sleeping areas, and on every level of your home, even your basement. For games and activities, go to sparky.org.
We want to keep you, your family, and your community safer from fire. This message brought to you by the National Fire Protection Association and your local fire department. Visit sparky.org.
And welcome back, inspired listeners, to Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim here on OMTimes. If you want to call in live right now and talk with world-renowned spiritual medium Paul Jacobs, this is your opportunity, guys. The number to call in is 1-202-570-7233. 7057. That is the number here in the United States. So if you want to call in, we'd love to have you join us live on the air. If you want to become an inspired listener over on our Facebook page, Kim and I decided if we hit our 1,000th member, that's 1,000 people for Inspired Living Radio, we will offer you a 10-minute reading with both Kim and myself. It can be on psychic, it could be on numerology, it could be on love, Kim's favorite subject. So once we hit our 1,000th member, you could win that. So head on over to Facebook, join the Inspired Living community. You actually have to ask to join, and we'll approve you in. And let's see if we can hit that magic number of 1,000. So before we went to break, Paul, we were talking about just the current state of mediumship. I've personally seen a huge difference my last 4 years of going to England every year and seeing the English mediums and how they work professionally, accurately, evidentially, compared to some of the events I've been here in the United States. And I think a big part of it is spiritual development, kind of what we were talking about before we went live on the air. Say that again, that what Gordon said about sitting and when you're not getting anything. I thought that was very important when people try to meditate or sit for spirit. If you don't get anything. Could you say that again? That was fascinating.
He said when nothing seems to be happening, the most is happening.
That is powerful. I just and I learned that this year for myself when I was in England in December. And the tutor said, "Why don't you just sit for spirit?" We always sit thinking that we're going to get something from spirit versus why don't you sit for spirit? And I found that to be very powerful. And I just, that's a great reminder to our listeners out there when meditation.
Yeah, that's great, because if you look today, which is still important and good, many people are putting their main focus on their development by attending seminars and workshops where they're constantly doing practical exercises, which is important and good to be able to learn the mechanics and to learn the technique of delivery and presentation of a communication in a demonstration. But I don't feel people are doing enough in the beginning, where in the past it was creating a home circle where we allowed the naturalness of mediumship to manifest, where we just created an atmosphere for the power of the spirit world to build, and then allow the spirit world to then take that time together how they wanted, and they would bring that communication with who they wanted and in what way without any techniques and structure. So I think that at the moment we bring technique and structure first, where it should be naturalness first, then technique and structure secondly, even though I'm a great believer of technique and structure. But we seem to be not giving the time to the naturalness of the manifestation of that communication to take place, which is missing by people not sitting in home circles.
So let's dive into that a little bit deeper. I think that's important for our listeners, and especially for up-and-coming spiritual mediums that are doing this work all around the world. When you say circle, let's go a little deeper on what you mean by that, what that involves. What if you don't know how to find a circle, or what if you don't know the first thing about sitting in a circle and the importance of spiritual development and sitting in a circle, or sitting in the power, or sitting for spirit?
Well, in the beginning, it can just be a couple of you. I mean, I had a period where there was just me and one other person, and we put no demands. We just allowed to see the spirit world, what they could manifest with us and how they could manifest it with us. People say, oh, you shouldn't sit in a circle if you haven't got a teacher, and it's dangerous and whatever, if you don't know what you're doing. I'll be honest, for me, that's a lot of rubbish, There's nothing dangerous about it at all, as long as, you've got an understanding and knowledge of communication and that power. We don't give the spirit world that freedom and naturalness enough in the earlier years to manifest and how they can manifest that information, because then in that power then they can try different things in the way you will respond, how your mind will understand and work with information, how they can manifest it, and where now we're forcing the different facets, or we're forcing what type of mediumship we want, rather than unfolding and manifesting naturally. And of course, if we're going to work publicly in a presentation, then we've got to learn technique and structure, and how to work with how we receive it. But we're not building strong enough the naturalness of that communication manifesting into our conscious mind from the spirit world. We're too controlling.
And you bring up a good point as far as let's dispel the myths of being possessed by spirit, or everything that you see in modern day, from Hollywood to movies to things you hear about. If we could we talk about that and just the falsities of that?
Well, first of all, I've never once in my life asked for protection. If I thought I had to ask for protection, I'd call it a day. For one, I believe like attracts alike. So you'll attract whatever state of being and person you are. And what makes me smile is those who seem to promote all this negative stuff of the evil, whatever, are the first ones to profess they've either got Archangel Michael or Gabriel as their personal guide. So I say then, so what you're saying then, darkness penetrates light rather than light penetrates darkness. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I just I wanted to put that out there. Now I know Gordon Higginson has some videos out there that people can go out and watch about. You talked about the demonstrating medium professionally when you're standing in front of a group of people. I was wondering, do you have any YouTube videos of yourself that maybe over time that somebody has taped you on how you actually do the work as a spiritual medium?
Not a lot, really. There's a TV show on my website where I do an experimental thing, trying to show the intelligence of the communication and the spirit world, because I think that's what we get at times. We're not supposed to just be giving evidence that the spirit is eternal, survives. We're supposed to be giving evidence that there's another mind and another intelligence behind that communication that's taken place. And at times I think that's missing quite a lot. Because there is that intelligence there. The spirit world is a world of mind, and the mediumship we're using is mind. But we've got to, make sure that comes across, that other mind and other intelligence is there.
Yeah, and as far as television, is that just the television there in the UK, or is that something that'd be accessible from people listening to today's show that they could get through the internet to actually watch this documentary or TV show with you?
Yeah, they can get it from YouTube, or I think it's on my website as well. They can click on it from my website. It was good. I was pleased with it because the person who showed it was sceptical, and by the end of it, he changed his mind. So it was quite interesting. But again, going back to the naturalist I spoke to you earlier, the first time I went to the Arthur Findlay College, when I didn't know I was a medium, even I had experiences, I used to think it was the place I was living in, not me as such. And on the first evening, Gordon asked me to come out onto the platform in front of 90 people. I didn't have any teachings, nothing. And he asked me to make a contact. And I said, me? And he said, yes. And I said, I can't do it. And I stood there and I said, I don't know what to do. And he says, just simply ask who's there. And I just automatically went into the depths of my soul and cried out to God, help, give me what this man wants. And I heard, Dad. And I said, it's somebody's dad. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know whether it was coming from the spirit world or not. So he then said to me, well, who does he want to speak to? I says, I haven't a clue, I don't know. And he says, ask and allow their power to move you to who they want to speak to in the audience. So again, I went into the depths of my soul and said to God, help. And all of a sudden, I was just moved, and one lady in the audience stood out, and I said, the lady there? And she said, yes, my father's in the spirit world. Gordon then said, what does he want to say? I said, I don't know. Ask. And the words just came out of my mouth. He's only just passed and he's left you £500,000 in his will. And she says, yes, that's correct. Wow. So if you look, who was there, who they want to speak to, what they want to say. If all students would learn that and be taught that from the beginning, we wouldn't have the problems with their presentation and delivery as we do later on in their development. But if you look at that, Gordon didn't say, tell me this, tell me that, tell me the other as evidence. He didn't give a shopping list of what you are to give as evidence. It was, what do they want to say? But also, when he said ask, and this is where students get it wrong as well, and we've misled you, you asking words in your mind, and that is not correct. We have to ask from that higher consciousness, from within the soul, through our feeling and motions. But if you looked at how that contact worked, I went and touched the God point, that something divine within me that awakened that power within my soul and the faculties of the higher mind, the emotion, which makes that communication take place.
Yeah.
So there's no structure, no techniques, and it happened. It worked.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that experience with Gordon and yourself. And I was thinking what we can do is if you could send me that link for the television show, I'll be happy to put that on our Inspired Living radio page that folks can check out. And we're going to be going into our last break. It's just so amazing how the time flies when you're having fun, as they say. But we'll put that link for Paul up on the Inspired Living radio page if you guys want to check that out. So there is the whistling. We're going to go into our last break. We'll be back here in 2 minutes. We have world-renowned spiritual medium Paul Jacobs as our returning guest. Thank you so much for listening in today. We'll be back in 2, guys.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Join me, Tammy Adams, intuitive life coach and spiritual healer, for my new show, Karma Talk. Learn how to get rid of your karma so that you can start living the life you are meant to live. I am not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Join me on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Karma Talk on OMTime Radio.
America's service members and veterans are strong, forged out of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. Sometimes reaching out for help can be the most challenging and worthwhile mission of all. When you recognize something isn't right, make the call to the Veterans Crisis Line or Military Crisis Line. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim, and our guest today, the world-renowned medium, Paul Jacobs. Paul, thank you so much again for being with us this hour and sharing your wisdom with us. I mean, as a student of yours, it's always nice to be reminded of some of these things and to hear your thoughts on some of the topics that we're talking about. Now, you were talking about the first time you went up and you gave a contact. And wow, what a powerful one it sounds like it was in front of 90 people to get that strong a message. That's always a blessing. But what happens is I've had this happen before, and maybe other mediums out there will be able to relate to this. What happens when there's somebody, you have a sitter, you're doing a reading, and a family member comes through that they don't really know, so they're not able to really verify what it is you're saying.
Well, I think we have to look at two things. First of all, we have to remember the communication with the spirit world is not just about and for the sitter. We're also there for the need of the spirit people too. So that family member maybe just has a need to become recognised and remembered, even though the sitter has no real knowledge of them. But I'm sure if the medium is open to the right type of evidence, it can be verified and confirmed, which is also excellent evidence for the sitter, because there's no way then we could have got it from the mind of the sitter. But we've got to remember, sometimes those people need to become recognised and have the opportunity to say, hello, I remember all you, I'd like to be remembered too. But there's no point going on and on and on for a long time in the sitting with that person, because, they can't, like you say, confirm it, but you just give enough. But also sometimes, if the spirit world are wanting to bring a particular message to the recipient of help, that particular person they do not know too well may be the best person to deliver that message they're needing through that medium at that time.
Mm-hmm. I love what you've just said. There can be a lot of helpful things that come through, even though the sitter did not know that loved one who had passed. And I like, and I know, Mavis too. Mavis Patilla shares this a lot too, is that they like to come through and they love to share their memories, and they like to share that with us. So, like you said, maybe that's a need that particular soul has at that point in time too, is just to be remembered. And that's maybe a blessing that we can honor them with that as well. And one of the things that you talked a lot about in the last class I was in, Paul, which I really, really loved, is the soul-to-soul communication. And just kind of talk us through the importance of that connecting at the soul level.
That's right. What we've got to look at, those are the faculties we need to use. We're soul here and now, and that's what we'll always be, once we discard this physical body. So our friends in the spirit world and family have lost the physical body, so they are soul, which is the vehicle of the emotion, the spirit, and the higher consciousness, because mind survives physical death. So there has to be that aspect of the mind that belongs with the soul, not just with the physical conscious and the physical existence. So if we have that soul-to-soul blending with the communicator from the spirit world, then we're connecting to that aspects of the mind that survived physical death, which we need for the communication to take place, the power of the spirit within the soul, which is the fuel that makes the communication work and allows that information to manifest, and then the emotion, which is the base point of all communication, and it is through that emotion and feeling that brings the communicator and expressed in the reality of still being a real living person. Because if we're just using information, say through words, through odd words, through clairaudience or clairvoyant pictures, they come across just as information, not real people. And if you really get that soul-to-soul blending, you don't need to see anything. You don't need to hear anything. You don't even have to interpret a feeling. It's as if within you, you become them, and you become alive within their power, their emotion, their memories, and their mind. And it's just like as if you're describing yourself, but it's for them that you become that person. And when it's like that, it's so pure. It's so pure.
It's so pure and so meaningful, I'd imagine. I know for the sitter as well, to be able to experience that level of connection. So, Paul, you teach all over the world all the time. In fact, we're going to have the blessing of having you come back to the States, I know, this year. Can you touch on a couple of things? Is there one thing in particular that you're going to be focusing on, or anything in particular that you're going to be focusing on in your teachings this year at all?
Well, actually, it's mainly focusing on those who are working towards or are already working as public demonstration mediums. What I've started to do in most of my courses now throughout the world is not just doing one-off seminars. I'm taking what I call closed progressive training groups. So like in Plymouth in MA, I've got a group where I've limited it to 12 students only, and I will take them 3 times throughout the year so we can keep building and moving progressively, getting to know the student individual in their weaknesses, their strengths, and looking at all the main aspects of the different faculties, but also to understand and really teach, allowing the spirit world to manifest naturally what they want to bring in the way you can receive it, and then understanding the right techniques of delivery and presentation. Because, receiving is the easy part. Understanding it correctly and how to deliver it and present it is the more difficult part, especially in a gallery, because if you've got 50 people to 1,000 people there, getting it to the right person, because so often now it's not because the contacts are not genuine, but I so often see that the communicator doesn't get to the right recipient in the audience, and then it's all been such a waste of time and so sad, because often mediums or trainee mediums don't have confidence, and they're just happy somebody's claiming it and saying yes. I'm always conscious of, is this communicator really, this person from the spirit, really getting to the right recipient in the audience? Because we've got to realise there's a lot of information that can fit a lot of people that can be so generic. Quite often mediums add on the end of a relationship figure or energy, which gives people the permission to change the information. They throw out generic information to a whole audience, or popular wording today is, in England, is there's a connection to a man with a boat, or there's a reference to a lady with a garden. But it's the word connection and the word reference is the evidence. We've got to find out what the reference is with the garden. We've got to find and give what the connection is to the boat. Then we get in the evidence. But if we just say reference to a garden or a connection to a boat, and you've got a big audience, well, lots of people can understand it. So then we're not really proving a great deal or making sure that the communication gets to the right person.
There's just
Brilliant.
so much to learn, yeah. And so on that note, we want to let our listeners know where they can find you and where they can see your upcoming list of classes and events that you're going to be holding. Where can they do that?
Well, if they go to my Paul Jacobs Facebook page, the events, the courses are there. Actually, the one in California, I think there's only one place left, and the one in Massachusetts is in Plymouth is sold out now. But got public demonstration in California, which they can again go on my Facebook page, and that one I'm doing with James Van Praagh. So I'm looking forward to doing that one. That's on the 3rd of March. And then a demonstration on my own in Plymouth on the 10th of March. So I really enjoy demonstrations. So I'm looking forward to both events. The one with James, it's nice to see different mediums work together and the different ways they work. Not to compare, I'm not speaking about comparing them, but in the different methods or different ways they present, a student can learn so much. I always recommend students to watch as many demonstrations as possible, not to judge the medium or sitting just hoping for a message, but watch how they receive the information, what they do with it, what type of information they've received, how they present it. A student can learn so much from watching a demonstration. So all those who are developing may come along and watch James and myself, them in California, or myself in Plymouth. That's the 3rd and the 10th of March.
Brilliant. And we have all those links on our Facebook page for Inspired Living Radio, so we'll have you guys check those out. Paul, thank you so much for being our special guest today. We really enjoyed all of your knowledge and information that you shared with us today. And I would just say for our inspired listeners, mediumship is really a life lived a life shared, a life reunited. And again, love to have you back on Inspired Living Radio, maybe in 2018. And thank you so much for being the special guest. Next week's guest is John Sedoza.
Thank you, Kim. It's been my pleasure.
Lots of fun here in spiritual awesomeness, as I like to say. John Sedoza is a retired FBI agent, and he's going to be coming on to talk about the real world X-Files. It's going to be a fascinating show. You guys don't want to miss it. If you guys are doing anything on Monday mornings or not doing anything and you want to join me for a cup of coffee over on OMTimes magazine, you can join me every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays with Mark. Love to have you come on. It's a free Facebook Live webinar, and we talk about all sorts of good stuff. So until next Wednesday, have a great week, everyone. Thanks for listening in. Until then, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Namaste.